So let's look at the benefits for the employer. It's a fantastic opportunity again as well for the youngsters. For employers, it gives them an opportunity to spot young talent and can be a great tool for attracting the future talent pipeline. It highlights their organisation to young people as well as the sector as a potential career. It can be used to develop existing staff as well. So I've been out speaking to employers about taking on FAs, and I might say about taking on an accountancy FA. And the feedback I'd get is, oh, there wouldn't be any point in taking an FA in our accountancy team. The team's been there for 20 years. There'll be no jobs coming up. That's great, but actually there's no obligation to take the young person on at the end of the FA. So actually, if they were to take on an accountancy FA, well, they've helped this young person gain the equivalent of a hire, which is fantastic. They might then choose a career in accountancy, and actually your own accountancy team will have gained learning and development opportunity in mentoring the young person, and probably, and most likely, learned a thing or two from the young person in the process. It helps build greater links with local schools and colleges. And there's no direct cost to the employer. The young person is not paid for the hours they work, and all travel costs are paid for by the college. So how does it look for the young person once they complete? So as I touched on, they've got lots of options. They've completed their learning units that would see them step into year 2 of a modern apprenticeship. They've now got experience of attending college, so that may set them on a path towards an HNC or HND. They could decide that employment is now for them, potentially in the same company, potentially the same industry or sector, and actually may well decide that work-based learning is for them now and continue this with a graduate apprenticeship. The SCQF points gained would put them in a great position for this, or indeed to go full-time study at university. I suppose it's not just the options they have, it's the confidence they've got for those options. And I think back to the end of Scottish Apprenticeship Week back in March. God, it's hard to believe it's this year. It feels so long ago. But at the end of the Scottish Apprenticeship Week, I was at a financial company in the east of Edinburgh. John Swinney was there, and they had the 3 young apprentices talking about their experience and the advantages and what they'd taken from the FA. And all 3 had highlighted that as they spoke to this room of people, they doubted that they had the confidence to do that prior to starting the FA. More interestingly for me is it was 2 females and a guy sitting there, and the 2 females had decided that that's it. Financial services was 100% what they wanted to do. That was their new career, and whether that was on a GE or MA, they hadn't decided yet, but that was what the way they were going to look. The guy who was there had always decided that university was his next step, but changed course and was now looking at doing accountancy. So it opens eyes, it opens opportunities, but also gives that confidence in taking that next step, which is great. The next slide, I apologise in advance, it's a very busy slide. I do think it's quite an important one. And it's I've basically taken 2 tables from the recent FA progress report that was released by SDS. Now, incidentally, on FAs, it's actually a really good read, and I can forward on a link to anyone who wants it. So if anyone can reach out, and I'll forward it, and it will be on the SDS website. There's great information and stats on there. But if we look at the left-hand side of the slide, what it shows is the strength of doing an FA for the young person, especially if they're thinking of doing a GA or uni degree. So the FA is at an SCQF level 6, which is the same level as a higher. However, a pupil getting an A grade in physics, for example, would get 24 SCQF credits, whereas a pupil completing an FA in science technologies would get 51. So you see the third bottom one there, science technologies. So it's 51 SCQF credits. And you can also see on the right-hand side the jump on UCAS points also. The right-hand side of this slide is from the learner feedback. So there's some great numbers in there, and I'm not going to talk through all of them. But it's basically from the FAs completing, and they're asked a variety of questions. But a couple of things I'd like to highlight. 91% of learners would recommend an FA to a friend having completed them, which is fantastic. 85% of employers rated the experience 7 or above. They're still in their infancy, FAs, so some of those stats could be improved, but some excellent feedback, I'm sure you'll agree. So that's us on FAs. So the next step, or next slide, we're going to move on to modern apprenticeship. So yeah, the next apprenticeship of the 3 is a modern apprenticeship. So the MA is the more traditional apprenticeship, and a lot of the people on the call will be more familiar about modern apprenticeships than now with FAs and GAs. I think a lot of people would associate this with There's apprenticeships with car mechanics, electricians, hairdressers, for example. But as I'll go into, there are way more opportunities to carry out an MA than you would think. Next slide, please, David. Tap. So each year there are more than 28,000 modern apprenticeship starts in Scotland, and around 12,000 companies offering MAs, including many of Scotland's top employers. And actually, David, if you push it should list a few. Yeah, just a small amount of the larger companies that are offering MAs, but it's not just large national companies. Small to medium-sized companies and family firms will also offer apprenticeships, modern apprenticeships. Modern apprenticeships do not need to be for new staff. They can be used to upskill or retrain existing staff also. And unlike the other two apprenticeships, the MA doesn't run with the academic year, so you can start an MA at any time of the year. The apprentice is in a real job and is paid by the employer. An SDS contracted learning provider will work with the apprentice to achieve the learning milestones as they work towards their qualification. Depending on the frameworks, obviously there's so many different frameworks. Some of the training can be at the provider's facilities, so they might spend some time at a college or training provider in block placement, or other examples where all the work-based learning is on the employer's premises. They don't have to leave the employer's premises at all. An SDS would pay a funding contribution to the provider for this training service. As it says there are over 80 frameworks available for a modern apprenticeship, so huge numbers. I've listed a small amount there just to show the variation. So you can see from dental nursing to financial services to wind turbine operations, easy for me to say, all offer an MA. The apprenticeship duration will vary. So some of the frameworks can be completed in under a year, with others up to 4 years to complete. The majority of MAs are at SCQF level 6 and 7, but they do start at SCQF level 5 and do reach to management roles at SCQF level 11. So next slides, we've touched on the benefits of the FE, so let's look at the benefits of carrying out an MA. So first of all, for the young person, for the apprentice, the young person has a real job, is learning and gaining in an industry recognised qualification, all while the important one of earning money. Again, we survey apprentices all the time. We survey the modern apprentices. One of the main questions is why? Why did you want to start an apprentice? What was the importance of this? The feedback is to improve prospects, gain a qualification, building their confidence, and to get a job with training and learn new skills. It's all great. On the employer side of things, they benefit from a skilled and productive workforce. MAs are shown to increase staff loyalty and retention. Again, looking at survey results, 91% of employees are still in employment 6 months after completing their MA, and 96% of employers say former apprentices are better equipped to do their jobs. And an employer that invests in its staff will always be more attractive when it's attracting applicants, and developing staff, upskilling and investing in training all helps to underpin Scotland's ambition for economic success. All good stuff. So, this guy again. So on completion of an MA, our power walking learner here, once again, has several options to choose from. So they can continue their career, now fully qualified in their chosen field. They could decide to continue their work-based learning, further enhancing it with a graduate apprenticeship. They could join the apprenticeship network, develop their skills by visiting schools and industry events, promoting apprenticeships as a career option. Or indeed use their new SCQF level of learning to go to college or uni to take up further learning. Let's give this wee guy a walk. Oh, he stopped walking. Is the next slide available, David? There we are. So, apprentice opportunities are always growing. These figures are from the start of the year, and whether they'll be affected by COVID or not, we don't yet know. But certainly up to 5,000 young people, planners will be taking up a foundation apprenticeship opportunity in the 2020 academic year. The growth on that has been fantastic. There'll be more than 28,000 modern apprenticeship starts, and there are 1,370 graduate apprenticeship opportunities available. There I go. I think it's my last slide, and I've touched on GAs, which I said I wouldn't do. So I'm veering on to Derek's part of the presentation. Actually, it's my last slide, so not too bad. I'll stop there. Thank you very much. If you go back, David, my email address, I mean, obviously there's questions at the end. I'm more than happy to obviously answer what I can then. My email address is there. If you'd rather contact me direct about the FAs or MAs, I'm more than happy to answer it that way. The website apprenticeship.scot will give information on all 3 apprentices, but it'll give case studies and videos for both the learner and the employer side of things. So please visit that also. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. And thanks to Scott for presenting the first part of today's webinar. I'm Derek Thomson. I'm one of the business relationship managers with responsibility for graduate apprenticeships here at Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh. By way of introduction, and as some of you may know, we, Heriot-Watt, were one of the first universities in Scotland to provide graduate apprenticeship programmes back in 2017. And our first cohort had 26 apprentices. By 2019, we had 175 apprentices studying here on the Edinburgh campus. In 2020, we will see not only our 4th cohort of apprentices starting this year, but also our first graduates through the GA route. So over the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'll be continuing our theme with the 3rd apprenticeship in the apprenticeship family by providing an overview of the graduate apprenticeships. I'll cover what they are and how they work, including the entry points for FAs and MAs. Thanks, David. So let's start with the question, what are graduate apprenticeships? And let me start to build the answer by sharing a couple of quotes from the apprenticeships.scot website. They're a brand new way to work, learn and earn. Graduate apprenticeships are still a new concept to many employers, having only been available for about 3 years. So a graduate apprenticeship is about getting a job, which means getting paid, but it's also about getting a degree at the same time. Another way to think of this is to consider the 2 parts of the name, graduate and apprenticeship. So graduate, that tells us that this is a route to a degree. In fact, it's an honours degree at SCQF level 10. The apprenticeship tells us that the education is designed around work-based learning. In fact, 80% of the learning assessment is achieved based on what the student is doing at work, which means 20% of the learning, or 1 day out of 5, is achieved through attending university. We also find there is sometimes a misunderstanding around the term graduate apprenticeship. It's not an apprenticeship for graduates. Instead, it's actually an apprenticeship that develops people to become graduates. So whilst a graduate apprentice is a student at university, most of their time is spent as an apprentice learning on the job. Just as importantly, it's not doing a part-time degree whilst also doing a full-time job. Instead, it's about integrating work-based learning and work activities with the learning outcomes of the degree. The work being done at work is actively contributing to the credits required to award the degree. So it's about transferring the learning done at university to the workplace and doing that straight away, unlike a traditional 4-year undergraduate programme where the transfer of learning is not so immediate. So the difference is the GA route provides work experience and earning alongside learning. Thanks, David. So what do employers need to know? Graduate apprenticeships are sometimes referred to as Scotland's best kept business secret, because despite being available since 2017, we find there's still a surprising number of Scottish businesses who either don't know about the GA programme on offer or are not taking advantage of them. For employers, the first point really is that a graduate apprenticeship is a job. A GA is a full-time job. The apprentice has full employee status, just like other employees. It's important then that the job role aligns well with the learning outcomes described in the GA programme. It's also crucial that this alignment is established before we accept someone onto the programme. Secondly, the graduate apprenticeship programmes are the education programmes that lead to the degree qualification. So there's a distinction, if you like, between a graduate apprenticeship and the programmes that go hand in hand with the apprenticeship. The learning follows an approved apprenticeship framework developed by SDS in partnership with industry. So the skills the learner develops are the skills that employers have designed into the GA programme. And finally, the big plus for most employers is that the GA programmes are free. Don't you just love something for nothing? So yeah, there's no tuition costs because the programmes are fully funded by the Scottish Government through the apprenticeship levy. So let's look at some of the benefits now. Firstly, the benefits for employees. There's no fees, they get paid, it's an honours degree, they develop and demonstrate skills gained in the workplace. It helps fast track their career towards professional accreditation. And they get the traditional student benefits, including access to the student union, and I'm also told Amazon Prime. So the benefits to the employee include gaining a recognised degree and 4 years relevant paid work experience at the same time, whilst having no student debt. What's not to like? And compare that to an undergraduate who studies full-time for 4 years, accumulates debt, and then has to find employment. So of course, the undergraduate programmes are better suited to some students, and others prefer the work-related GA route. No matter which route is chosen, the degree obtained is the equivalent. And as this slide shows, the benefits to the employers, this came from a study that Skills Development Scotland carried out back in March, and really they speak for themselves. As you can see, those employers who have already taken advantage of the GA programmes provide very positive feedback. 100% would take on a GA again in the future. So how do we get access to GA programmes? Here I'll cover who can become a GA, what the entry requirements are, and how we apply. So firstly, who can become a GA? Basically anyone living and working in Scotland. That could be a current employee. There isn't a maximum age limit, so it's ideal for upskilling or reskilling. Or it could be a new employee, it could be somebody leaving school or college and going into work. The entry requirements, typically 4 SCQF level 6 qualifications, so that's either hires or foundation apprenticeships, or in fact some of the modern apprenticeships that Scott was talking about earlier. Work experience can be used in lieu of formal qualifications, or it could be a combination of both. Advanced entry is also possible. So for example, someone with an HNC and HND may be eligible for a year 2 entry. How do we apply for places? The UCAS application process for undergraduates is not used here. So that's probably the most important point in the application process. And quite often students come and approach us looking for access to a place, and we have to advise them that we work with employers, and that's how they'll get their place. So instead, what happens, employers engage with business relationship managers, such as myself at Heriot-Watt, and the places are then made available to the employers, who then nominate employees. The business relationship managers help the employers to take advantage of the funding available for graduate apprenticeships. So how does the programme work? It's basically a partnership. It's a 3-way partnership the university has with the employer and the apprentice. For example, agreeing target dates for work to be assessed and reviewing progress for work-based learning. The partnership also provides opportunities for people to be mentors, both at the university, where we have personal tutors, and with the employer, where a work-based mentor is appointed. The GA programmes commence annually. There's an intake every September. We're still on track to do that despite the COVID situation. And over the 4 years of the apprenticeship, there's a September intake. Each year over the 4 years comprises of 3 semesters. Semesters 1 and 2, the student attends Heriot-Watt for teaching time 1 day a week. Semester 3 is a bit more flexible with a greater focus on work-based projects, but the 1 day per week allocated for campus learning or teaching time still applies, but it can be a different day in semester 3, or it can be traded, for example. It's important to emphasise the time commitment for all 3 semesters also needs to include up to 4 hours a week of work time during the remaining 4 days. So the 4 hours or a half a day, whichever way the employer wants to configure it, really needs to be dedicated to the projects, the study, the transfer of learning, really to support and allow the GA to embed the learning. And this kind of requires employers to create a kind of learning space or a culture where they ring-fence time within the workplace to support the learning. And to explain some of the other terms on here, teaching time is what we talk about as the on-campus courses, the blending learning materials. The assessment, where there's 2 types of courses with different approaches. The work-based learning courses, which are practical work, such as assignments, portfolios, reports, and the core courses, which are more about the campus-based assessments for coursework or, in some cases, exams. Very few exams. So how do we support the apprentice? It's very important that we consider the apprentice to be at the heart of everything we do here. From the business relationship manager, which is the kind of 9 o'clock on the slide there, working our way around. The personal tutor, who's more like the academic mentor, if you like, or the pastoral mentor. The program director is also in charge of the overall program configuration, the workplace mentor, and finally, there's a whole range of campus support available. As it's naturally available to all our undergraduates, it's also available to graduate apprentices. So there are three parts really in that triad, where the university, the apprentice, and the employer are all involved in supporting the mechanism, all stakeholders. So what programs are available? At Heriot-Watt, we've got 9 GA programs available. I think there's 11 frameworks in total available for graduate apprenticeships. And you'll see from the list here, these include business management, including financial services stream. There's some engineering programs in civil, construction, mechanical, electrical, and instrumentation. And there's also some data and IT, data science, IT and software development GA programs available. All of these are focused on the skills gaps within the Scottish economy and designed with that in mind. So why should we choose Heriot-Watt University? Our track record kind of speaks for itself. We're consistently in the top rankings. We've been offering work-based education since 1821, and there's a lot of experience and a healthy track record of working with industry and developing employment-related education. Our vision is to grow the graduate apprenticeship programs year on year. One of the things we pride ourselves in, I suppose, is what we add in terms of added value. We offer a maths summer school. We have mentor induction, mentor skills training for the work-based mentors. We offer webinars such as this one in particular, the joint session with SDS on the apprenticeship family. And we also offer access to fully funded or discounted education, such as our online MBA. So in summary, the graduate apprenticeship is designed to support sectors that have a high need for the skilled jobs. They're fully funded. The tuition part is fully funded. They're for new and existing employees, where 80% of the learning is done at work and 20% of the learning at university. So in closing, I'll share with you a snapshot of some of the employers who are already taking advantage of the funding available from the GA programs on offer at Heriot-Watt University. So thank you very much. Thanks for listening. I'll now hand back to David Aaron, who will be happy to facilitate any questions you may have for both Scott and for myself.
Thanks, Derek, and thanks, Scott, for those great overviews of the whole apprenticeship family there. So yeah, so again, lots of great stuff covered, and I'm sure with the amount of people we have on the call that we're bound to have some questions. So it's always a bit funny to go first, but if somebody there is a chat facility on the call, so if anybody would like to use the chat facility rather than ask your question verbally, then please do so. And just to sort of follow on, just while we're waiting for some questions to come in, on Derek's last slide there, you can still see on the screen. If there's any other information either on the content of Derek's presentation or specifically on any of the courses that we provide, please just email us at that mailbox, which is on the screen. So it's ga@hw.ac.uk. Now, I figured in the time it took me to see that somebody may have asked a question.
Hi, David. It's Valerie Milne from Broadridge.
Hi, Valerie.
Hi there. We are currently in the process of getting our agreement with Heriot-Watt in line for the graduate apprenticeship programme. So we're just about there with it. Is there a cut-off date for our applicants for this year?
I can answer that if you like. And the quick answer is yes, it's called as soon as possible.
Yes. That's fine. That's what I thought.
Yeah, the program is due to start in September. Yep. So The sooner we can, you know, dot the I's and cross the T's, then the
Yes.
better. But
Yes.
there isn't an actual date. It's really better just if we can work together to try and get that done as soon as possible. So tomorrow will be fine.
I'll add it to my list. Thanks so much. It was really informative, by the way. Thank you.
Thanks, Valerie. I was glad somebody went first. So a couple of questions have come in the chat. So I guess it looks like kind of Derek questions to me, or feel free to chip in, Scott. So Fiona has asked, are the apprenticeships available through all the universities in Scotland?
I think the answer to that is most, perhaps not all, and not all universities offer the range that we're offering. So you'll find variations. Some universities offer, you know, fewer programs based on their academic expertise and so on. Now, we're one of the universities that offer the most, 9 out of the 11.
Okay, thanks, Derek.
Let me know if that doesn't answer your question.
No, I think that's fine. I think Rory's asked a quick question, and so it's the graduate apprentices. Do you stay in student halls?
Yeah, unfortunately not. Graduate apprenticeships don't have access to the halls. By virtue of being an apprentice, they're working. So the student halls are for undergraduates who are studying full-time.
Thanks, Derek. Thomas, you've asked a question on the chat facility about the presentation being available. Yes, and for the benefit of everybody else, there will be a recording of the session available, made as soon as we can get it kind of uploaded. So yeah, I shall, if anybody's interested, please drop us a wee note into the mailbox, and we'll make sure we get that copy out to you. Derek, there's a wee question on here in terms of the GAs again. So from Maya, with a GA, can you change your job mid-semester, but still stay on the course?
Yes, you can. The GA funding goes with the individual. So once the student is signed up to the GA program, if they do need to change jobs for whatever reason, and obviously we have situations currently with what's happening with COVID, where some employers are unable to continue, and so we do have that as a real life situation. So yes, we can have people change their job and it doesn't affect the program, as long as you have the second employer or the new employer signing up to an agreement with Heriot-Watt. There's no problem.
Great, thanks, Derek. So questions come in there from Lee. So again, and maybe this is in the context of maybe current circumstances. So do you have exit options if circumstances changed whilst or sort of during the completion of the GA program?
Yeah, again, I think the exit options are probably better handled by someone in the academic side. But what I can say is that the options would be equivalent to the SCQF level obtained in that year. So broadly speaking, what we're talking about is the first year of the program is SCQF level 7. So that's probably a higher certificate. The next year is SCQF level 8, so that'll be second year, so that'll be like a higher diploma, and then you'd have an ordinary degree exit point for third year, and finally the honours degree in fourth year.
Cool. Derek, Alan, you had your hand up there. Would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I was just Derek kind of took care of it, but if anyone wants to know the actual exit qualifications, then I've got them here. So as Derek said, the first year, if they pass, then they get a certificate of higher education. Second year is a diploma of higher education. Third year, as Derek said, is an ordinary or general degree. And then the fourth year is the honours degree.
Thanks, Alan.
Great. Thanks, Alan. I've got Cara has got her hand up. Cara, would you like to ask a question?
Hi guys. Yes, I just wanted to check to see if you know what the plan is yet come September for the start of the next apprenticeship courses.
Yeah, I think what we can say at this stage is that we're on track and our expectation is to start in September. What that will look like will depend on a number of factors. One will be the programme itself. So the specific programme I know you've got in mind, Cara, is civil engineering. And the detailed answer for your question is probably best taken with Laurent. I think you're going to be in on the session on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can certainly give you more detail on that then.
Okay.
But we are looking at what we can do for employers, those employers who are finding it difficult to meet that September start date. We are having conversations with them to find out what we can do around that. If there's significant demand, then we will obviously look to accommodate that.
Okay, that's great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Just looking at the chat function then, Scott's been getting way too easy a ride at the moment in terms of questions. Scott, there's a question on the chat there from Principal. I think it's regarding foundation apprenticeships. So it's a long question, so if you bear with me. So although are regarded as equivalent to almost 2 hires, universities across Scotland all perceive qualifications differently in regards to entry requirements. Has anything been done to ensure sort of parity and benefits of FAs so that they are roughly in parity between institutions? For example, UWS regard it as 1 hire at B, and other unis can regard it as equal to 2 times higher. Sorry for the long question.
Yeah, so obviously I highlighted the SCQF level, and I have got a chart somewhere on a computer that shows that yes, there is variations on universities, and as you say, some will see it as 1 higher and some the equivalent of 2. In regards to work being done to parity, I honestly couldn't answer that. I don't know. It's not I'm out seeing employers. It's not really my thing. So I don't know, to be honest with you, if there's any work being done. But as you say, I highlighted the SCQF level points. I'm aware that some universities do treat it different to others. But what work's been done to try and fix that, I don't know. I really couldn't answer, sorry.
Okay, thanks.
I'll only get one question. I couldn't really answer it.
Can I just jump back in again there on that one, David?
Sure.
So one of the things that we've started to look at with our graduate apprenticeship entry requirements is to make it easier for people in that exact situation. And instead of having a list of prescribed entry requirements, to break it down into more of a level and credits. So in some of our programs now, we list not only, this many hires at this level, but also entry may be granted at first year entry if you've got 120 credits or 96 credits at level 6, that kind of thing.
Great, thanks, Alan. We'll just go back to the chat again. So this question's from Wendy. Probably was a GA question, Derek, you'll be pleased to hear. So what can we do as an organisation to support the graduate apprentice? So a concern is that they have significant pressure of a full-time job plus the study. So I know this is quite a common question that we have on our regular webinars, but I don't know if you can maybe just sort of touch on that again, Derek.
Sure. I think the best thing we can do and the first thing we can do is have a conversation. And that conversation is to help the potential student and also their employer to really understand what it is they're undertaking. There isn't really, a sensible way to try to combine a full-time job and full-time study. So that's not what a graduate apprenticeship is. And therefore, it's about understanding what a graduate apprenticeship is rather than having this expectation of combining a full-time job with study, because you're right, there will be significant pressure if that's how it's seen. So the employer really needs to have a better awareness of what they need to do to support the individual who's undertaking the study. It's 100% learning for 4 years, if you think of it that way, with 80% of the learning done at work. So that 80% at work, learning at work, if that also is in line with the normal targets of that workplace, it may be too much for that individual. It also depends what the apprenticeship's got going on in their life, because everybody's life situation is different. And so they really have to think long and hard, is this for them? Or is it, maybe not for them? So I think what we can do at the outset is have a transparent and honest conversation to make sure it's the right thing at the right time for the right person.
Thanks, Derek. Good answer. There's a question in here from Jennifer. Do you have any information on what the first GA graduates from Heriot-Watt will be doing? I.e., how many have been retained by their employer? I suppose that's the question around about the first cohort, I think.
Yeah, I wonder if Alan might want to come in here because they tend to be in his classes.
Yep, I can take this. So yes, all of the graduating class this year are being retained by the companies. Three of them have moved employer during their program, but they're being retained by their current employing company. And all of them have moved on to have been transitioned slowly or have moved on to a graduate level or indeed a higher than graduate level role currently.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alan. Let me just check. So
David, I'm not sure if Hannah's got her hand raised again or if it's still from the last time.
I think it's just from the last time.
Still from the last time, just.
No problem. So there's a question there. Just there's one. This is the last one that's on the chat box, chat facility. So please, if there's any other questions, please drop them in or write on queue. Thank you. Now I don't know, Alison, this is your question. So what proportion of GAs at Heriot-Watt are new employees versus existing employees? I'm assuming that's not GAs employed at Heriot-Watt, but what we do with our GAs that are in the way sort of wider employment. Derek, what's the kind of rough split of existing?
I'm going to ask Scott if he's got any more insight to statistics nationally, because I'm pretty sure my answer would be that Heriot-Watt kind of mirrors that. Anecdotally, we think it's maybe a kind of 60-40 split or something like that. Scott, do you have any?
I touched on the FA report that was released, and Derek and I have had a conversation because I got a snippet of the G one that's due to be released, and it will be shortly, and that similar to the substantial information that's on the FA one. It's great, and it looks at all that type of stuff. I recall it being 70-30, so
okay,
70% of people that started the GA they were already in employment as opposed to a new job. So the information will come out soon. Please don't quote that as Scott from SDS says, because I'm taking that from when I saw the slides. But yeah, I'm sure that was the information we had, that it was about 70-30. And as you say, that will be the same across. There won't be major variations across universities.
Scott, just another quick question for yourself. You're there. Where can someone go to find out what companies are hiring GAs at the moment?
So apprenticeship.scot, apprenticeships.scot. On there, all not all, but apprenticeship roles are advertised on there. So they'll have, obviously not FAs, but there'll be MAs and GAs advertised there. So if you have on here, but they'll be advertised on apprenticeship.scot. As Derek says, the majority are likely to be companies with somebody looking to start. We talk 70-30, so I suppose if you look at the numbers of GAs that are starting, it's going to be a much smaller company are then going to advertise in advance. But yeah, you'll find them there, apprenticeships.scot, and search for GA positions, and they'll be highlighted there.
Great, thanks. That's all the questions at the moment. I mean, we'll just give a wee sec. We'll just give a wee minute to see if anybody else would like to.
Yeah, I've just typed that into the chat, so I hope people can see that.
Oh, thank you, Derek. And I think that web address was on your slides anyway, Scott. So when
it was, yeah.
The people, as with the recording, if people would like a copy of today's slides, then please just email us at the mailbox that's on the screen at the moment, the GA mailbox.
I suppose I should really do a disservice if I don't say, if any companies on here do have apprenticeship vacancies, it is free to advertise on apprenticeships.scot. I don't think I'd be doing myself a service without saying that. So yeah, it's free to advertise.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Well, so that looks like anytime we've done this before, as soon as I start saying that looks like all the questions, one pops in, but I'm gonna take a chance. That looks like all the questions for the time being. So I'd just like to say thanks Scott, for your time today and your presentation, and also Derek, thanks to you for your presentation on the GA. So that was really useful. Hope the people attending today found that useful too. And if anybody,
thanks to you as well, David, for your hosting.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I think I shall do apprenticeship on moving slides on. But if anybody would like any more information, as I say, please just email us at that mailbox and we'll get whatever information you need back out to you, okay? And similarly, if any questions come in for Scott, we'll field them over to you as well, Scott, if they don't come to you direct, okay? So
perfect, thank you very much.
Thanks again. So thanks to you both, and thanks everyone for attending, and we'll close the call there. Thank you very much.
Thanks.